Can you tell me about the difference in soil between Alba
No,
and Asti?
è uguale.
Same.
Nessuno lo sa.
Okay.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Similar, really very similar, but maybe a little more sand in Asti, but it's not so significant.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Okay. You mentioned in the new style and the new winemaking, shorter maceration. Can you talk a little bit about the style of winemaking of new versus old?
Rotomaceratore, come si dice? Fermentatore.
Rotating fermenters.
Rotating fermenters.
Rotary fermenters.
Concentrators, tu?
Sure.
Concentratori.
Yeah, concentrators. Yeah.
Macerator machine? No.
Rotary fermenters.
Rotary fermenters.
Yeah.
Rotary fermenters.
Yeah. So the winemaking between new winemaking styles and old is, how is it different?
In that period, normally, they had very long macerations with an important contact with the skins. Normally, more than 20 days in Barbera, but in Nebbiolo you could arrive to 3 months too, an exaggeration for a lot of new producers. In that period, the new producers arrived to have macerations about 40 hours, and that was thought it was a ridiculous way to make wines, because you couldn't have an extraction of colors, tannins, and so on. But the story, I could say, demonstrated that you have a good extraction also with shorter macerations. Just 3 days ago, I drank a mix of Barbera and Nebbiolo. The vintage was 1990, a perfect wine, and the maceration was just really 40 hours. I saw the book of the winery, and there was 40 hours of maceration, ridiculous. And in that period, the new producers were using rotary fermenters too, against the old tradition to have fermentation, sometimes without the control of temperature. And of course, rotary fermenters has a stronger extraction, and traditionalist producers decided it wasn't a good way to keep substances from the skin, and so on. But I think new producers in that period sometimes used concentrators too, and that was really incredible for the traditionalists. So, but now I think is not really a period of contrast against the two different lines. There are some differences, of course, but after 10 years, normally is the vine that wins. When arrived new Barolos, for example, very famous from new little producers, they were dark, and it was not so easy to understand from traditional producers, because Barolo is not really dark. It's during the first years Rubin, but not full of color. And but after 10 years, in reality, Barbera too and Nebbiolo, of course, are able to win against the concentrators, against French oaks, and is the vine that wins, normally. Normally because every producer now produces less in the vineyard. So you have always vines and grapes very concentrated, very important. And so, in effect, you don't need to have a lot of concentrators or so on. And with good grapes, normally is the vine that wins against technique that you can use in your winery.
Can you explain what a rotary fermenter is?
Possiamo provare, ma in Italia provo a dirlo con lui. Fermentatore orizzontale con delle pale che girano in continuazione. Yeah. Horizontal fermenter with pale non saprei dirlo con. Arms? Yes. Rotary fermenters were, but sometimes are very important because they, of course, control the temperature. And they are horizontal and they have arms. Arms that always and lentamente slowly girano. Non so dirlo. Turn. And so you have a very, very important extraction in little hours, in a little number of hours. High temperature, maybe 32, 33, sometimes 35 degrees, and skin are broken, are distracted with this kind of, during maybe 2 or 3 days, you have a very, very important extraction.
And what is a concentrator?
Concentrators is a little machine where you keep your must and it brings out some water, maybe 5%, 7%. So you have less water and more concentration with alcohol and substances.
And you're saying that now, is that a very similar idea to making a Saignée Rosé, to concentrate the red?
Saignée Rosé. Some producers in Tuscany more than in Piedmont, but use the Saignée method to keep out some water. It's the same principle, yes. But here producers normally don't realize rosé. It's really very, very rare. Very, very rare.
Fermenters. You mentioned very high temperature fermentation with Barbera. Does that change the aroma of the wine?
I don't think high but not too high temperatures are a real problem because under 35 degrees you don't have smells of cooked, of sugar caramelization. So I think it's not a problem. New producers said it's better always control the temperature because sometimes when they used to ferment grapes without the control of temperature, it was possible sometimes, not every year of course, but to have higher temperatures. So if you have a control, 35 is a lot, but not more. You are sure to have the temperature you think is the best. So I agree with this kind of work.
For how much does Barbera cost?
Barbera is cheap normally. Barbaresco or Nebbiolo or Barolos are more expensive normally. You have sometimes a little production that costs maybe just a little less than Barolo or Barbaresco, but normally it costs a half than a Barbaresco or a Barolo. The good Barberas from good producers, not more than a half.
Can you describe the differences for somebody who doesn't know, somebody from the United States or Japan who has never had Barbera, Barbaresco, or Nebbiolo? What are the differences in those three grapes?
Yes. Barbaresco and Nebbiolo are more important in the first level with historical aspects, because you have memory and documents about Nebbiolo here from the 13th century. Barbera is now very important, but nobody has written anything about Barbera just till the end of the 18th century. So is relatively a modern wine, and it's a little easier. It's not so important to have a long aging in the winery. Sometimes it's not so important to use oak, because it's a fresh wine, and so a lot of producers use just inox. Acciaio, come dite?
Stainless steel.
Steel, just steel, for the fresh versions of Barberas. And so, and that is one of the reasons, because it is less expensive Barbera, because at the end of the first year you can put it on the market. For the Barolo you have to wait 4 years, and the law provides, says you have to have minimum 2 years in oak for Barolo, 1 year in oak for Barbaresco, for example. So of course it's more expensive. And the other reason is the capability of aging, the real difference between these kind of wines. So it's not thinkable now to find important Barberas in international auctions, for example, because in that kind of places you have very old wines normally, 20, 30 or 40 years. Barbera, as you can see, after 10 years is its maximum.
Okay.
Vado giù,
Yeah, Yeah, I think I should go too, because I need to go